Hello everyone. Today's talk is a very interesting episode, and I think a very interesting episode for a Western audience. And so Mr. Within would be sharing an aspect of his childhood and his experience of entering a mosque for the first time. And I'm going to explain. And I'm not going to tell any specific details, but I'm going to communicate in the way that is proper. So before I begin, may all beings hearing this voice recognize that it is one aware of the utmost respect that must be given for a being that is existing for its existence. And through compassion, through the highest peak of compassion, in the sense that the Dalai Lama saw all his touring around as he sat down one day at home, just made everybody in the world just sprout into compassion, then the mind will be at a state where it would trust its experience. And so, may I begin with the respect of life, with the respect of all that needs to be present within this moment. I remember being very young, and my dad is holding my hand and my brother, and I have a twin brother, which is pretty cool, you know. Anyways, so my father is holding both of our hands. I remember as we're going in, the place is very vast. This mosque, it's at night, it's in the evening, and so the sky is dark, but the mosque is lit up. And so the top of the mosque, it has a very interesting geometry. It's in a sense golden, and it has a certain very unique shaped dome. And so as we went closer, I began seeing that the detail on the walls of this mosque were fascinating, as if the words and the names of God were written and were like wines on the walls of this place. And so as we're going in, the doors are very grand, made of gold. This is a mosque in somewhere in Iran, in Mashhad, I believe. So, anyways, to continue. And I remember we're going in this mosque, and we go in there, and as we go in there, there is a silence, and there is a sudden shift where I begin to stand differently. And it's as if me and my brother are for the first time with my dad going into this environment. And the environment was so hectic. There were so many people, and it was a very beautiful environment regardless of the acts being done. Just the intention of the beings there had a certain respect, as if when people entered that space, it was very clean. It was clean in thought. Nobody even began doing bad thought, you know? And so I remember going into this mosque, and it's just the energy of the space felt very different. And so while we're going, my dad's carrying us, and we go, and we just go stand in a corner. And so my dad stands there. He communicates and tells me and my brother that see the life in all words spoken. And so as we all stand there, I notice a silent moment. For the first time in my physical life in that moment, I had a full surrender. And so I stood there beside my brother in the corner of the space, and there were many people at the center of it, of course, where there was a certain shrine. And in that moment, guys, it was as if it didn't matter what ideology I had, it was all given to a collective vision, not as if given, not as if you're losing something, as if you're giving or taking, as if your perception shifted into the silence that always was. That we forgot it is our communication and our voice that creates worlds in which we feel we are not living well in. And so as you surrender your moment to the clarity of the next moment, you begin to see your answers were always here, for your reception of all life is here. Man might not be the center of the world in regards to where the planet is, but man is the center of his immediate world. And so there are many acknowledgments of realms of consideration. And so very simply said, guys, in that moment of silent being, I discovered my existence beyond ideology. And so I realized it was actually a very healthy act, you know, not based on the value of the imagery. For you know, when you go tell someone a message, it's about what the message is, not how the message is being said. And so what the message is, I believe, in the perception that is the ideology of God, is that it is a symbol for your absolute. It is that one last remaining symbol that you need to see the duality of this whole world and the many spectrums you have in. And so it's not about having one idea, but it's using your greatest symbol and realizing that the oneness of this world is within the observance of it, not the fluctuation of the temporal form. And so, in one moment perhaps, a child perhaps understood he could never be a child. The serenity within a mosque was the perfect mirror for once you are honest with the self. There can be no one in your way, for you are the way. You are the origination of the greatness that will be your next vision. Be aware of who you are. And I will end with the mosque story here, but it was a very graceful and peaceful experience, you know. And of course I was very playful, so me and my brother ran around. They had a lot of very interesting carpets, so imagine a whole like field outside of the mosque just completely filled with carpets. But of course the time we were there, they were closing the carpets, you know. But, you know, it was filled with carpets, you know. And so me and my brother, before they closed the carpets, were running on the carpets. It was crazy. And so, do not be worried, my friends. For your journey is valuable to the experiencer. You want to learn not in this life just about your body, which is just a certain individuated consideration of your moment, but you want to learn from what is within your whole moment, which includes your whole world. So integration in the mind of man is actually how you are, in a sense, dissolving the separation to see that it's all occurring within your experience. And so this your doesn't have to be a your. It's just experience, and we can call it existential experience. And so there's a certain harmony and respect that if you have this within your core, you will begin to see that you have been breathing prayer from the first day. What that means is existentially the intention through the communication and the imagery is more important. So for example, how you are listening to me speak right now is very important because you can have different ranges of focus. You can listen to my voice in a manner where you feel the raindrops in the background, or you can listen to my voice in a manner where I seem like a distant memory. And so what I mean by that, guys, is that it is all about how you are focusing on your idea as an observer in this life, not an object of observance, that is your salvation. It is known within you. So the confusion sprouts, for you are running without looking. And so in this world where so many people have got the idea that communication, movement, and noise is strength and power, some silent men stand untouched. Those mystics in the Himalayas are at such clarity of consciousness where they are not hindered by anything, and so they begin to access many creative flows in which they, as a moment of being, allow manifestation to happen. So in the presence of certain beings, based on how directly they're aware of self, you are, in a sense, found within their presence and then dissolved through their ideology. Do you see? And it's a very interesting thing. We are never trapped. We are never... we may be blinded. I mean, we may be blindfolded, but we're not trapped. Man is moving. It's growing. This consciousness has greater plans than man can even speak of. This world. I've seen certain movements, and I've been like, wow, I just can't interpret this phenomena that I'm being aware of. But I know that it's here. And so, as it is here, it is not that it's truth. It's just that we are changing our manner of truth not in a very hasty manner, wanting an answer or some experimentation result. We want to give ourselves emptiness to see what is here. We want to, in a sense, have the clarity of the Zen master's empty cup of tea. For once you see that everything within your world is a blessing, you will suddenly wonder, am I a blessing? And you would look around and you would be all that is. It is a profundity in how seriously you are willing to observe your thoughts. And don't think it's going to be just some comfortable thing. Because many people are very routinely, just constantly existing and living in how do I say it, like lifestyles where they are really associating with sound and movement. To suddenly go in silence means to give them an opportunity to get out of that, you know? Not to get out of it, in a sense. I would actually like to say to step back for a second and just observe what's going on. Because that is the grace found within that which you know. And so, as the mosque's doors closed that day, I knew they never could. Because man is too much of a transcendental being to be stuck in his flaw. So what that means is when we look at the human being, even that person who might not be getting high on an IQ test, which was an ignorant judgment in the first place anyways, becomes something that he is not lost to how the world treats him, but he is found in how he treats the world. And so I am speaking to the human being, and in a remembrance of the prayer that is now. Allahu Akbar.